stopping by. It was requested in my last video that I show what I'm looking at when I talk about the weather outside the window where when I'm sitting in this chair. So at the clip just before this is the view that I look out at. I basically see what I believe is South Sister. Yeah. Is it South Sister? North Sister. One of the sisters. Yeah. Our Cascade Mountain Range through Oregon into Washington, but we have the three sisters, Faith, Hope, and Charity here. And so I can kind of tell what's going on weather-wise, and as you saw, there's still quite a bit of snow. In years past, what would happen is that the snow would be still there when the first snow of the next season fell. There's glaciers up there, but in the last few years of global warming or change in our weather, there are some times when we get to June and there is no snow at all on the mountain. And it's disturbing because we depend on that for our water. It means there'll be more fire suppression too, that there's more moisture in the ground. And so it's exciting to see that this next week is July 1st and there's still quite a bit of snow up there. And on our weather report here, we get those reports about whether we had enough snow to last us, that kind of thing. That's one of the things that shows up on our weather. So I just wanted to stop by with you today and do a little stitch with me. I am not wanting to really be outside. Sometimes, I mean, the last few days have been absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful front porch weather. And I actually was going to video out on the front porch because this last week, one of my besties came by and brought her stitching, and we sat on the front porch, socially distanced, and stitched together and talked, and I just was so absolutely wonderful that I wanted to stitch out on the front porch again with you guys, but it's way too windy today, you know. And then there's been a time when I wanted to stitch on the back porch because the creek is there, but the creek makes too much noise, and a handful of you have said that my voice gets too quiet. I don't have a microphone, so you know, that's the issue. And what is it from Seinfeld? The low talker. She's a low talker. Yeah, I'm a low talker. Not always, but when I feel like telling a secret, my voice goes down. Well, the way life works around here, as far as mail goes, is that we don't get mail delivered to our home. The Postal Service doesn't do that. So we have a private mailbox at a different location. And so I don't see my mail every day. I pick it up whenever I'm going past that building, which, you know, maybe twice a week or something. And so sometimes it's just packed full of stuff, and then they'll leave me a little card in my mailbox that says you have a package, because then nothing else will fit, you know. And so this week, when I stopped by there this morning, I had some fabulous Stitchy kindness. you guys spoil me, and some haul. So there you go. There you go. So I'm going to share that with you. I also wanted to share, I took part in the Bella Sano fundraiser for the Cleveland cancer treatment. I had no idea. About that fundraiser. It's usually a bicycle race, but now the Stitchers have all gotten on board to make teams, you know, for stitching. Sometimes I think it's an ulterior motive of, you know, getting encouraged to do more stitching. And so I donated to a couple different, well, about 3 different people that I know to their sites, because they were all fundraising. The Frozen Crafter is doing it, and Lady Robyn S, and then there's Bendy Stitches has that also on hers, and so I wasn't really sure about what was going on, you know, because I even when I was in school, I was like a half listener, you know. Yeah, it's a good and bad thing, you know. And so what it was on this one particular donation site, and is that you donated and then you were invited to a Zoom meeting to stitch with a bunch of stitchers, and I only really knew 3. I had only met 3 of them, physically met 3 of them, and there were 20, you know, 20. And so I was mostly there to listen and enjoy the talking and conversation, and just kind of be a back row person, which is kind of what I am. And then all of a sudden they started having these giveaways on there, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And you know, because I guess, you know, it's like with quilting patterns. You're supposed to read the whole pattern before you start. Well, I guess with this, you're supposed to read the whole, what's entailed with the Zoom meeting. And all I did was make a donation and sign up, and figured I was going to sit there and get to enjoy stitching. And then they started doing these giveaways of cross-stitch charts, and I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden my name gets called, and I'm like, what? And I won a $25 gift card. Wait for it. Acorns and Threads. Oh my God. I mean, is that not a miracle? And so then I had to stop, and I said, wait a minute, what's going on? I thought we were donating, not getting something back, you know. Yeah, that was, it's like a surprise birthday party or something. So that was a fun little event this last weekend, and I mean this last week, and I had such a good time. And yeah, so you might go check out those Floss Tube sites for if you want to donate to research for cancer. And you know, you don't have to put your name on. I don't donate where I put my name. I always do it with anonymous. You know, I'm one of the, always on a donation thing, I'm one of the anonymous people. I never want to really put my name on there, you know. So you can do it either way. You can do it either way. So, yeah. That was a good time. It was a good time. And I'll show you what, when I get to what I stitched on this week, I'll show you one of the projects I stitched on during that Zoom meeting. But first I want to show you Stitchy Kindness. I am here to tell you, Daylene, you've heard of her before on FlossTube. She is so grateful, and I was shocked. Thank you so much. Let me tell you. Yeah. Well, are you waiting? Did you hear that sound? You know what that means. You know what that means, huh? And she sent a picture. Oh, she sent a picture of herself. It's actually her, it looks like her Christmas card and for Jolly July. So there she is. And she said, Happy Jolly July. I thought maybe you could use a new project bag. Yes, yes. And she just, she knocked it out of the park, really. It's like, oh my gosh. And in the project bag, there's library card lists. Isn't that cute? There's some peppermint tea, my favorite. And then there's one of those floss rings with a floss by the Gentle Arts, mulberry. Gotta love it. But look at this bag. And look at the back. Oh my gosh, is that not so cool? I am just joy to the world. Well, Daylene, you've brought me a lot of joy. You have brought me a lot of joy. And my favorite Paul Newman organic peppermint tea. And then you have to, let's see, how do I get this out? Let me just see if I can get this out. Oh, I have to unhook it. Okay. There's a little hook on the inside to hook your floss ring too. But you have to see this floss ring because she made it, and on the little charm it says Stitch Roadies. Stitch Roadies. I'm sorry I whispered. It says Stitch Roadies. Oh, how fabulous is that? I mean, no, I just love it. I just love it. And I have been going round and round on what I want to do for Jolly July, and it's not going to be like those Mania starts for sure. I am not going to do that, but there is going to be a start that's going to go into that bag for sure. And thank you so much, Daylene. You are, I am so grateful that I know you. And then Kathy from Gray Lake, Illinois. Now she must be a card maker like my friend Becky is, because this is definitely a handmade card. I mean, it's just such an art form, and it has a little charm on it. You'd be tempted to rip that charm off, but I couldn't, because this is like you wanna just frame this whole card. And the paper, I mean, look at this tape. This tape, okay, so here's the paper that it came in. But this tape that taped that tissue paper together, it comes off without ripping the tissue paper. And look at this. Isn't that cool? I'm gonna have to figure out where you can get that. That is really cool. And it has this botanical print. But wait until you see this. It has my two favorite things. It has my two favorite things on it. It's a Needleminder, made for minders. I'll put that link down in the description, but look at that. The Eiffel Tower and bees. I can't, I'm so excited about that. I have to use that right away. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Daleen. Thank both of you. You are so kind. So kind. Now for haul, yep, I got haul from Acorns and Threads. I am all ready for the stitch along. Oh my gosh, I'm knocking stuff over all over the place. I am all ready now for the stitch along that's with Becca from SamBrie Stitches, her Zoom group. We just kind of all jumped on this bandwagon. You know, it's kind of like a, oh, what do you call that? You know, like when one gazelle says, lion, and everybody else sticks their head up, lion, and they all run when no one's really seen one. That's what happened. Yeah, on a Zoom, one gal says, have you seen Teresa Kogut's new sampler? 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 You know, it was too funny. And so now we're all doing this sampler that the stitch along starts on July 4th, but truly you can join anytime you want. But it is her Land That I Love. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful sampler. It's a beautiful sampler. And naturally, I had to, I couldn't figure out the count. That was 35 count. That was way too hard to find, and so I got scared because I'm not good at ordering. I've told you this before. I'm not good at ordering. Get on with it, Anna. I'm not good at ordering linen or fabric online. I really can't see the color and decide if I'm going to like it. And after I was kind of disappointed in the color for the begin chart, what I did was I just told Janine at Acorns and Threads, you know, my cross-stitch therapist, to pick me out a good fabric, you know, because I totally trust her judgment, and she kind of gets me, you know. And so this is the fabric. It's a nice, beautiful, beautiful piece of fabric. And then I'm going to hold this side here. And this fabric is Lugana Fiber on a Whim, 32 count old gold. Oh. And then, here we go. There's the threads against the fabric. Isn't that gorgeous? So I actually can't wait to start it. I told her she didn't have to send me all the thread that she thinks I would need, because there's so many people out there that want to start this. I don't want to be a little piggy. And so I said, I will just give me enough to get me a good start, and when I need a second, because it's a sampler, you know, it's you don't need it totally the same dye lot. And then I'll just get some more when she gets some in. So I'm very excited to be all ready for that sew along. And if you go on SamBrie Stitches, she'll have that hashtag. But yeah, that's awesome. And then I told her to send me two bags of a container of Floss Away, the Floss Away bags, because that's what I use to put my floss in there. And then she sent me the fabric for the Begin project, the one that I was going to do during Mania, and they didn't send the right size, and then, and so, Belfast Linen Smoky Pearl, for that Bent Creek. Oh, jeez, this is like, yeah. That's a beautiful color. I am going to like this so much better than the one I had, the Confederate Gray. This has that blue, little hint of green. And then there was floss in here. I don't know what it was for. This one says, these ones are, it says Christmas Quaker 2. So I must have told her to send me the floss for Christmas Quaker 2, but Janine, I still need the red. I still need the red. Okay, and then there's this bark. Bark. Yeah, so that was a lot of haul. And yeah, happy meal. All kinds of happy meal. All kinds of happy meal. Well, I was like a dog with a bone when it came to the tiny Modernist Ouija, Halloween Ouija. This is what happens. Sometimes I just like, I can't stop. I gotta do it. And so, yeah. Here's where I've gotten on that. Oh yeah, yeah, look at that. That girl, she's wild. It would be nice if I got the whole center before the second one comes on July 15th. But and that's why I might adjust my Jolly July a little bit, because that would be really cool to be done with the whole first, which was the largest one, when the second one comes. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then I'm still working on my Blackbird. Okay, you're crowding me, you know? You don't have to see everything I do. Blackbird, which is, I'm making this, stitching this in memory of Emmett Till. And I've got my Blackbird done. So now I'm just going on with the flowers at the bottom. And I think I'm leaving one flower out so I can stitch his name and the year 1941 to 1955. And then the lyrics. And that will be done. That would be a finish. Well, I know you're a captive audience. Well, you're not really, because you could press move on over it anytime you want. But my stitch with me today is going to be my Korean Peeps. And with that, we will start off with a story. First of all, let me show you where I'm at. I have my third little girl done. What I do know is that this stitchery really needs all that black back stitching. It really makes the little people pop, you know. So I have to do the back stitching on the third little girl, and then I'll start on her partner. And we'll just hang out together while I do that. Now, I thought, just so it wouldn't be boring, that I would share another story with you. And I'm going to preface that story. Oh, let's see, where does that go? I'm going to preface that story with, I could tell you all are just hanging on, like, get on with it, girl, get on with it. With the explanation that, and I think I have said this before, that I led a somewhat Forrest Gump kind of life. And I was thinking about that the other day because someone says, boy, you have so many stories. And it's because my life is kind of like Forrest Gump's, and I was trying to figure out why that was. And so I thought about it, and I said, well, both G and I had adventuresome parents. They were not, you know, they didn't grow up themselves in situations that, although his mom grew up on a farm, but they didn't grow, they were just adventurous people. And so being the children of that type of parent makes you more adventuresome. It's just, that's what you know. And for me, I think because there's never been a stranger in my life, I will talk to anybody, and I want to experience so much. I don't have to be proficient. Don't get me wrong. I don't have to be proficient. I just want to know what it feels like. And so I'm always up. I'm up for anything. You know, oh, yeah, sure. Let's give it a try. You know, what could go wrong? And I thought this story, today's story, would be the perfect story to start off this stitch with me while I stitch on my Korean peeps. I do my back stitching. And so here's the story. First, you've heard some clinking. Let me put on my medal and G's medal. No, we were not in the Olympics. Sure looks like it though, doesn't it? Yep, and his name is engraved on the back of this one, and my name is engraved on the back of this one. And let's see, when was this? Oh, look at this. It was in 2005, 4/18/2005, we got these medals. Now, how did we get these medals? Well, let me tell you. We were traveling in the back country in South Korea. And oh, I dropped my chart. Sorry, I'm gonna get back to the story, but I need my chart. We decided to go climb a mountain. I'm not sure why. It's because my mother said, go climb a mountain. I mean, she was that kind of person. I mean, you know, what are you gonna do? She said, go climb a mountain. We don't argue with my mother. She should have been the emperor of a small nation. And so it was my younger son and G and I. She said, go climb a mountain. And we had a guide. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I was somewhat of a worrywart, much to her consternation. And she said, no, you have to go climb the mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, you'll get a medal. Now, would you believe that? I was like, are you kidding me? That is not true. And she says, yes, you will. You go climb a mountain. And so we started climbing this mountain. And I noticed there was metal rings embedded in the rock that used to have like a cable. And I asked our guide, where's the cable? And he said, too many people fell off the mountain because they were depending on the cable. Now, that made no sense to me at all. I wanted that cable, but it didn't exist anymore. Just the remnants of where the cable was, you know. And so we go bouldering and climbing up this mountain, and oh my gosh. What it is a mountain that used to be in North Korea. It's right on the border of South and North Korea, and somehow in a border scuffle or something, the mountain moved over to the South Korean side. And so we could go on to there, because you can't go into North Korea. I mean, I looked at North Korea, you know, but you can't go into North Korea. And so we climbed up the mountain. You can see North Korea when you get to the top, you know. So when we're climbing up, I'm thinking, this is insanity. This is insanity. But you know what? When we got to the top of the mountain, there was a guy up there with a table and medals. And he engraves your name on the medal that you made it to the top. Now, the really absurd part of all this is that I was so scared climbing up that mountain, but that guy climbed up that mountain hauling his table and medals and his engraver. Well, let me tell you, coming back down was scarier than going back up. Yeah. So, yes, yeah, these things are heavy. Oh my God, they're so heavy. But, yeah, so I have, yeah, 2 medals. So there's my story of the day in 2005 of climbing the mountain. So now I have to figure out where I am at. Okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to start here. Back stitching is, and this chart, I have to tell you, is definitely confetti heavy, because some of the colors you're only making 3X's, 4X's, and then you're moving on to another color. And so it takes you a while to create one of these people, but I sure do love them. They are so sweet, and I am especially happy that I got one done in June, you know, because then I'm kind of back on track. I'm keeping on track. Okay, you can come back. It really helps to have the stitching pillow. You know, you don't have the drag with the fabric. You don't have the drag. It was so cute because last time on the video, Kitty said she would stitch for me as long as she got to pick the chart that she wanted to stitch, and I so appreciate that. The problem is that I really love all those charts and I really want to stitch them all myself, you know. So I haven't quite got so desperate that I want someone to cross stitch for me. Okay, so I have to go over here. You know, back stitching is because you're kind of smoothing out the edges by back stitching. And Josephine asked me if I ever get overwhelmed by everything that I have around me. And I have to say that I only get overwhelmed if I have a deadline, you know, and the only deadlines I have in cross stitch are birthday deadlines or gift deadlines, and that, you know, those are kind of spread out, and so I don't feel overwhelmed too much in cross stitch. Now quilting, I have a little bit, I do sometimes get overwhelmed there, and it has more to do again with deadlines, but the deadlines are, so, you know, it's like if I have a class or you know, something that needs to be done for a publication or something, or, you know, and then there's the regular birthday things, you know, that you want to have done, but I have more deadlines in that world, and so sometimes I feel overwhelmed there, but not very often. Not very often. I've been fairly good about maintaining a boundary for myself. Yeah. And I had you know, I had some deadlines for Quilt Show this year, and then when Quilt Show got postponed, it's like I lost my oomph, and suddenly I was relaxed. I had no deadlines. Oh. And I'm starting to get a little better handle of what's going on in that world, so now Cheryl shared with me how she grids fabric, And I was just curious, for those of you who do grid your fabric, do you do it with a thread, or do you do it with a pen? And then what kind of pen do you do it with? I did order off of gosh, I think it was 1-2-3 Stitch, some gridded Ada, just to see what that was like. I did do that. Oh, she's so cute. I continue to try to catch up on my floss tubes. I was watching a long Dawg stitcher, and she actually does a lot of those long Dawg samplers. And so I thought, oh, I'm gonna ask her, because I downloaded, you know, the free chart that was available for the long Dawg sampler called Pandemic, that was free online. I think that deadline has passed, but I downloaded it and printed it all out. And then I thought, well, geez, how do you decide what color fabric or what color thread to do it in? They generally look like they're done with just one color thread, you know. And so I asked her, since she seems to have an affinity for them, how she decides what color to make her long Dawg samplers. And she said she chooses colors that fit her house. Duh, why didn't I think of that? I was thinking I had to do this something, you know, but when you work on something like that, you want it hanging in your house, you know, you don't want it folded up and put away. And so yeah, so now I have to think about that, because I kind of, since it's a Before I Die, a BID project, I thought I should start it sooner than later, so I want to start it sometime this year. You know, and so I have to really think about that. And I think it's going to mean, going physically into Acorns and Threads and looking at the colors and looking at the fabric available, and you have to make an appointment now to do that. And I almost have oops. I did something wrong here. Oh no, there it is. I almost have a date set for when I might be up in Portland, and I'm going to meet a friend at Acorns and Threads, and so I have to text Janine and see if she has an opening, because they only let so many people in the shop, which makes sense, because right now it seems as though our numbers are climbing, unfortunately. I hate that. I really hate that. these little people. I really like these little people. I guess the weather's going to be kind of squirrely all over the place. I was chuckling to myself. It's not very funny. I mean, the whole, are you going to wear a mask or not wear a mask is just, oh my gosh. It's just, oh, such a struggle. So I wondered how many cross-stitchers wear a mask and whether they're wearing a mask because they don't want to be recognized as picking up more haul. We are in full-blown tourist season here in my town, and so majority of the people are not wearing masks because they are on vacation. Yeah. My neighbor, she was telling me that she keeps me updated on what's the latest thing that's a shortage again, you know, and so it turned out that toilet paper again was on, getting short again. It's kind of like, what the heck? And she said last week when she went to the grocery store, they were limiting, I think she said they were limiting everyone to like 1 carton of eggs and 1 gallon of milk. Like you couldn't get more than that. Yeah. So some supply chain there is. Oh, I like their little eyebrows. We don't have to worry about that because we don't eat eggs. So, but it's interesting because you need eggs for you know, for baking and that kind of thing, you know. And so what does a vegan person substitute for eggs? And you'd be surprised. I use powdered chickpeas. Yeah, it's called aquafaba. And when you mix a third of a teaspoon of aquafaba, which is just a powdered chickpea, so it's been dried, dehydrated, and ground up. When you take a third of a teaspoon of that in a bowl and you add 3 tablespoons of water and stir it up and let it sit for a minute or so, it functions, it does the same function basically as if you had an egg. So it's a plant-based, and so when I make muffins or cookies or something like that, and it calls for eggs, I just use that, and it works fabulous. So I'm thinking to myself, well, if there's an egg shortage, well then my daughter-in-law told me she can't find any aquafaba. So someone else must know about that. I know for sure, for Jolly July, you know, today is Saturday. What is the date? See, I never know. Huh? We lose all track of time. Oh, the 27th. Oh, the 27th. So, gosh, it's just so hard to believe June's already out of here. Sayonara. Hasta luego. Arrivederci. We're done with June. Wow. What a bizarre year, huh? It's a bizarre year. And it's like that, it's gone. Yeah. But I think for Jolly July, I'm not gonna like, you know, like in, no, I actually don't even know how this functions, so I shouldn't even be talking. But I thought I heard someone say that Jolly July is kind of like Mania, except for its Christmas projects. So I can't imagine starting 20 or 30 Christmas projects. Really? Is that really, does someone actually do that? I don't even have that many, I don't think, unless you count ornaments and all of that. So, I know for sure I'm going to start the Christmas stocking, the shepherd's bush Christmas stocking. And that looks like it will be an interesting, because the weave is so big. And so for sure I'm going to start that. And I already have some whips that would qualify. So I think I'm only going to start 2 or 3 Christmas projects in July. And that's because I don't want any more projects started than can fit in my project bags. Thank you, Daleen. I don't know, I have a couple of projects that are really calling to me. That primitive rabbit, the owl, that's been just laying, the pattern's been laying on the floor over there, right over there, because I really want to start that. I would love to make that for my son. I don't know why, he isn't particularly, I don't think he's ever said anything about owls, but somehow, I don't know, somehow that just makes me want to make it for him. And I really need to get going on my whips. I really need to get going on my whips, but I tend to start chewing on a bone and then I can't think of anything else. So, what do they call that? Okay, so if you only stitch on one project at a time and you get it totally done, And before you even start a second one, I know that's a monogamous stitcher. And so monogamous stitcher is one at a time. Polygamous stitcher is several at a time. Makes sense. So what is a process stitcher? Is that someone who never FFOs anything, but they just like the process of stitching? Process stitcher. I made a mistake, so now I got just one frog. That's not bad. One frog. That's not even worth calling frogging, huh? So how many of you are going to do Jolly July? I still haven't received my June fabric from Fortnite Fabric. Wonder what happened there. I'll have to check into that, huh? I can't believe how the weather is just going up and down and all around. I have really enjoyed that several of you have said, hey, it doesn't matter how many projects you have as long as you're having a good time. You know, I love that there were no people in there that were judging me. Made me feel better. I'm kind of excited now that I have the fabric for that begin chart, because I really wanted to do that. Now that would qualify, I think, as a Jolly July. Anything can be a Jolly July. In fact, Becca is calling it Joyful July, and she's stitching on whatever she wants. So neener neener. We've gotten totally hooked on Midsummer Mysteries. We've gotten really hooked on that. Yeah, and that, but it's amazing how many murders happens in a little village. You know, and I read an article this morning. It's kind of disheartening in some ways about how the travel industry, how it will change. And so many of us are, I mean, I am so grateful that I have traveled as much as I've traveled. I mean, well, I grew up in a somewhat of a nomadic family to begin with, and so traveling was just in my blood. I mean, yeah. I mean, whenever you do those Facebook those Facebook quizzes that ask you how many countries you've been in. That's off the charts for me. Always off the charts. And so I'm grateful for that, but I'm also sad for how long it's going to be before we can, if we can ever travel as thoughtlessly as we did. You know, I mean, we didn't even think about it. I mean, I literally, on one trip, went through 12 countries with a backpack. You know, I was in my, was I 50? Yeah, I was in my 50s. I was in my 50s. And yeah, it's it was so extraordinary. It was so extraordinary. And everything was so wide open and welcomed that that it just you know, I'm gonna miss those. I'm gonna miss that worry-free, let's just go on an adventure, you know? I want to go on an adventure. And yeah, because we're an adventuresome family, and so the idea of that the adventures are not going to be as carefree as they used to be, you know, and that for a while some places aren't going to be as welcoming as they should. They should be cautious. If I go there, that means I need to go right here. Oh, okay. Well, I'm probably boring you to tears now, because this outlining is just it's going to take forever, but it truly does make a huge difference. Because look at, although I haven't outlined her dress yet, I have just about finished outlining her face. And isn't she adorable? Yeah, too peoply outside. I'm really excited about getting that. Hey, stop crowding me. Stop crowding me. I'm going to have to give you a name. Yeah. Well, I hope this wasn't too boring. I enjoyed your company. So, you guys stay safe out there. Keep stitching. You know all the drill. Keep stitching. Keep your chin up. Keep your heart held. And know that we will get through all of this together. And by gosh, stitching may save the world. Let's hope. Let's hope. You take care. Love you guys.